Hi, everybody. Financing climate action plans is a real challenge for many states and municipalities across the country. The science and technology are really there, but the question still remains. Can finance accelerate and be accountable for advancing our way towards climate action? As it stands now, climate action plans are really halted by a market failure. The climate action plans are creating demand for projects by developing their targets. However, the private industry is really hesitating to get in on investing. Green banks are a non-depository financial institution that expands and accelerates the investment of and deployment of green energy and energy efficiency projects. They do this by doing a combination of things, but what we'll take you through today is really how green banks are an innovative tool and how one town in particular are creating a green bank to make their economic and environmental goals come true. Green banks are taking off all across the US. The number of banks established and the capital raised by them is on the rise. In addition, since 2011, there have been many different types of projects and technologies that green banks have raised capital to invest in. Green banks address the gap in the capital market by deploying public purpose capital, which preserves government dollars by using financial structures like loan repayments rather than grants. And they are able to leverage the investments by using a combination of public, private, and nonprofit sources. They also address the issue of project demand by making projects more accessible for people. So they do this primarily by lowering the cost, the upfront cost of the burden that is faced by people who want to invest in these projects, by reducing that upfront cost through things like incentives, but they also focus on mature, commercially viable technologies. So you might be asking, how is this magic happening? And the truth is, it's not really magic. What's happening is traditional financial tools are being used in an innovative way and using a combination of things to really address the specific needs of communities that they're engaged with. Because they are highly customizable, they're not just taking off in the US, but all around the world.
And after you learn all about why, how, and what a green bank can do, let's see what reality can look like for financing energy efficiency measures for the city of Anchorage using this financing model. First of all, we need to acknowledge that Alaska and Anchorage have their own challenges and opportunities. It's a very unique place, including the fact that it's the fourth least dense state in the US, with the third highest per capita energy consumption. At the same time, they have a very unique nature ecosystem that acts as a carbon sink for the world that is currently affected by climate change. Luckily, Alaska has embarked on the trend of adopting mandates for climate action, and it's aiming to reduce their energy consumption per capita, as well as relying more and more on renewable energy sources. The city of Anchorage itself has committed to reducing their greenhouse gas emissions by 40% of their 2005 levels by 2030 in their recently approved climate action plan. As you may remember, Sarah mentioned that green banks projects only work as multi-sector partnerships. Every partner has to have skin in the game, share the risks and rewards. And there's many entry points in setting up such an entity. And we, based on our initial research, are confident that the key players that are needed to create win-win-win strategies are already on the ground. And in order to give you a sense of how a green bank actually enables such win-win-win strategies, we are going to run through a example, very simplified example of energy efficiency financing for commercial properties. These require a third-party lender in order to disperse payments to a contractor that will actually implement the energy efficiency measures. Well, such a loan can be risky for the lender. And this is where the green bank comes in order to back the lender for potential losses with guarantees. At the same time, the green bank authorizes the contractors for the program, and they, with their help, the lender can set up loans for a specific scope of work. Nevertheless, the green bank also helps the lenders develop their capacity building and market development. As you can see, there's a lot of benefits without the green bank could not happen. And at this point in time, our role is to present to the City of Anchorage the multitude of aspects they need to consider when they set up this green bank. Because there's many alternatives available, and we focused on public and nonprofit structures. And based on our learnings from the other green banks that are currently operating in the US, we came up with a few pros and cons. And in summary, really, the key points are the legislative effort, the capital sources, as well as the continued political support are key elements the City of Anchorage will need to consider when they are designing their own version of Green Bank. Ultimately, these are place-based solutions that are molded on local needs.
So we've outlined 4 different phases for this green bank to become a reality. In the first phase, we would raise funds to hire a third party that specializes in green bank setups around the US called Coalition for Green Capital. In the second phase, Coalition for Green Capital will start off with a feasibility study to assess market needs, and assuming that there is in fact a market need, which being on the ground, there very much is, we would then set up the green bank and find the funding structures for it, set up the legislation for it, and launch it, hopefully by 2021. In the third phase, as the green bank launches, we would set up all of the projects, define the programs, find the funding for them, but still rely on external funding to make the green bank to operationalize it. In the final phase, the green bank will start getting revenues and loans repaid from the projects they've invested in and start being self-reliant. All of the projects will be measured against key performance indicators that align with the Anchorage Climate Action Plan: energy bill reduction, renewable energy generated, as well as buildings retrofitted, and energy efficiency. At a global scale, all of these efforts align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are additional impact metrics that we will want every project to align with and take into consideration to actually improve the life of Alaskans and citizens of Anchorage, such as local community resilience, greenhouse gas emissions, new and returning capital to the city of Anchorage, as well as creation of jobs and businesses. All this fits very nicely into a big puzzle. The Green Bank is only one piece of it. There are many other initiatives that can plug and play with the Green Bank and are not exclusive. So going back to the question that Sarah asked initially, can finance accelerate and be accountable for progress towards climate action? Yes, and we think that green banks are a great solution to do that. Thank you.